Alright, so here we have another rational equation to solve. I'll have several of these. Each one will have its own video. I'm trying to hit all the different cases you'll come across. Hopefully I'll get them all in the different videos. If I leave one out and think about it later on, I'll make another video. But check them out, and if you like them, give me a subscribe and a like. And well, let's get started on this one. So the first thing we want to do when you're solving a rational equation is, if there's any denominators that can be factored, let's factor them first. So here you can see all of those denominators can be factored. So that's going to leave us with 4 over x plus 5 times x minus 2 plus 1 over x plus 4 times x plus 5. And you should know how to factor. If you don't, you need to figure it out, because you won't be able to work the problems. I've got a lot of videos on factoring. Check those out if you need to. All right, so now we've got it factored. Now what we need to do is we need to find all of our restrictions. Once you factor your denominators, you find your restrictions. If none of the denominators can be factored, then you go straight to finding the restrictions. Okay, so the restrictions, that's what makes the denominators 0. Okay, so you just look at each different factor and figure out what makes each factor 0. For instance, this one, if we plug a -5 in, -5 plus 5 is 0. So that's a restriction. X cannot equal -5. Okay. Look at the next different factor, x minus 2. If I plug a 2 in, 2 minus 2 is 0, so x cannot equal 2. And then the next different factor, we got the x plus 4. If we plug -4 in, -4 plus 4 is 0, so x cannot equal -4. So in this case, we've got 3 restrictions. Okay, so we've already done the x plus 5, and we've already done the x minus 2 here. Now if you need to, because sometimes you may end up with a number out here, and your restrictions are fractions, what you can also do this, you just set each one of the factors equal to 0 and solve each one of them. See, if you solve this, there's -5. There's a restriction of 2, and there's a restriction of -4. So you can always set the different ones equal to 0 and solve for x if you need to, but when they're like this, you can do it in your head. Alright, so now what we need to do, we've factored the denominators, and we've stated all of our restrictions. So now we need to get a common denominator. So how do we get the common denominator? Well, we look at each different factor and we use it the most number of times it appears in any of the denominators. So let me walk you through it. So look at each different factor. So first let's look at the x plus 5. So the x plus 5 in this denominator, it appears 1 time. In this denominator, the x plus 5 appears 1 time. In this denominator, the x plus 5 appears 0 times. So the most number of times it appears in any denominator is once. So x plus 5, we use it 1 time. Alright, so now let's go to the next different factor. We'll go to the x minus 2. Here in this denominator, it appears 1 time. In this denominator, it appears 0 times. And in this denominator, the x minus 2 appears 1 time. The most number of times it appears in any of the denominators is 1 time. So we use it 1 time. Okay. Then we go to the next different factor, the x plus 4. The x plus 4 in this denominator, it appears 0 times. In this denominator it appears 1 time, and in this denominator it appears 1 time. The most number of times it appears in any of the denominators is 1 time, so we use it once. And what we do now is we multiply it to each term. Okay, now normally I would write all this out. I'd write the denominator, then this term plus, write the common denominator, then this term all the way across. But I don't think there's any way I'm going to get it on the screen without running over the edge. So, let me write that back down, the common denominator. So what we're doing is we're multiplying this to each one of these terms. So what I'll do is I'll do x plus 5, x minus 2, and x plus 4. Multiply it to there. Same thing here, x plus 5, x minus 2, x plus 4. And then same thing here, x plus 5, x minus 2, and x plus 4. Okay. So I multiplied the common denominator to each term. So let's look at this. You see this? The x plus 5 cancels and the x minus 2's cancel. And I'm left with 4 times x plus 4. Okay. And here the x plus 4 and the x plus 5 cancel. And so I'm left with 1 times x plus 4 equals. And then here, let's see, the x plus 4 and the x minus 2 cancel. And I'm left with x plus 5. Well, let me cancel these two like that. So I get 2 times x plus 5. Okay, so hope that made sense. Now what we're going to do is we're going to distribute. Okay, so this is going to give us 4x plus 16 plus x plus 4. Oh, wait a minute. I know this should be x minus 2. I'll hear about that in the comments. That was x plus 4. That should be x minus 2. So when I distribute, I get x minus 2 equals, and then distribute this. That's going to be 2x plus 10. Okay. And now we solve. So 4x plus x, that's 5x plus 18 equals 2x plus 10. And then let's see, we subtract 2x, and we can subtract 18 to both sides also. And so that's going to leave me with 3x equals negative 8. Divide both sides by 3. I get x equal negative 8/3. The negative 8/3, that is not one of my restrictions, and so that would be my solution. Okay, so hope that video helped. Give me a like, share, and subscribe, and check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.